Hey everybody, it's the Biohacking Blondes here, Alex and Molly. We're super excited today because we're getting to talk to some physical people. So we're excited. Like a lot of times we're talking about food and stuff like that, and it's really fun to have some people who are here to talk more about like your physical body. So we're thrilled to talk to Lydia and Brikeno. Hi guys, how are you?
You guys doing today? We're
Good. We're
doing pretty
so
swell
excited.
today.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thrilled to have Lydia Marcucci and Brikeno Fusha from Vero Beach Biomechanics joining us with decades of combined experience in healthcare and biomechanics. They have dedicated their careers to developing innovative techniques that provide sustainable, long-term improvement rather than just temporary fixes. So whether you're recovering from an injury, looking to boost your athletic performance, or simply want to move better and feel stronger in your daily life, their personalized programs are tailored to meet your specific needs. At Vero Beach Biomechanics, they're all about bridging the gap between science and wellness and helping you achieve a pain-free and more functional life. So thank you guys so much for coming, and we're super excited to chat with you. How are you today?
Honestly, been really enjoying just being out in Florida in general, because we're 2 years into living in Florida now. So every time we wake up, we just say basically how thankful we are that there's tropical trees everywhere. And it basically hasn't changed one day where it's like, yeah, it's pretty beautiful today. It was beautiful yesterday too.
Yeah,
So
like only when the hurricanes come do you start to be like, but
yeah,
every
that's
other day
true.
in Florida is amazing.
So where
Exactly.
did you both come from?
I'm originally born in New Hampshire, but I moved to Massachusetts. That's where I met Brikeno, and then we moved down here from Massachusetts.
How did you
From
meet?
I'm from South Boston. When I first came to America, I moved to South Boston, but I'm originally from Albania. And after coming to the United States, obviously meeting Lydia, we chased our dream together in the South here. So
That's beautiful. I know how you met, but I want the audience to know. How did you
absolutely, fair enough. So basically, I mean, I had a let's say a fondness for Lydia from the very beginning because she was one of the rare trainers there that really liked posture, or I could see her applying posture, and I thought that was like really advanced. She looked super intelligent. So out of 4 for the Floor, which is at Equinox, we teach basically how to sell essentially. And when I met, I took my chance, and she was happy with it. I was very excited to say the least. So,
I love,
uh,
oh, that's so cute. You guys
laughing?
are adorable.
Yeah, but we've really bonded just over our shared passion for helping other people, working with people's bodies. You know, we were both personal trainers at Equinox,
Yeah.
but we had a dream of going out on our own and opening up a gym. And since we met, we've just kind of been like steadily working towards that dream. And finally, moving down to Florida and being able to make it happen, it's been amazing.
It must be
That's
amazing to come from Equinox too. That's a big gym. That's a big, fancy, fun, cool gym. So yeah, I used to go to
big
an Equinox
difference.
up in New York, and they have it all. They're like the
the best. I
line.
love
So
them.
you guys are like clearly the top of the line. You're the best. So so
Their style and everything is just like really, really
Oh,
interesting. It's very captivating from a customer's point of view.
Equinox is really huge on customer service and just giving an amazing client experience. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think that that's something Keno and I have talked a lot about is how do we give that same high level of customer service to our members and to our clients? And sort of when we're working with a client, we want that client to feel like they're the most important person in the world. That whole hour just is for them and they can just feel so special being in that moment, being in that gym, just getting that level of attention. And I think, Equinox does that well, and we've really tried to take that quality to what we're doing also.
yeah.
Taylor service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just cool, There's something about
They
you.
are.
Cool. cool.
Yeah, thanks.
It has that cool factor. Like you walk in and you feel like everyone's cool here. So I'm going to,
Yeah.
cool. I must be cool now.
I'm here. I have to be
Or
cool.
not.
Yeah. Well, I think both Molly and I can testify to what you guys just said, because we have both had 1 hour sessions with respectively of you two. So separately, we've used Lydia and Kino. And what you just said is 100% true. I felt very special. I felt very taken care of. And you guys are specialists. You know what you're talking about. I thought I knew a lot about like movement and stuff, although I'm moving like a robot. But side note, but you guys, you are really, really passionate about this. And you're passionate about helping people. So it's just phenomenal. On your website, it says the human body is genetically coded to walk, run, and throw. Training that does not respect our biological blueprint will lead to pain, compression, and degeneration over time. Training that respects our nature will lead to improved functionality, decreased pain, healthier bodies, and longer lives. What do you mean by training that respects our nature? Please explain.
Question. When we say respects our nature, we're kind of referring back to our genetic coding. So when you think, what does a fish do with its body? You know, it swims. What does a bird do with its body? It flies. You know, what does a dog do with its body? It interacts with the ground using ground force tension like a quadruped. You know, what does the human do with the human body? Right? And the human, if you look around, all humans, they're standing, they're walking, they're running, and then there's some degree throwing as well. So that's kind of what our bodies are genetically coded to do, is these very specific movements. And the human body does it very well. So we orient our training off of these basic movements. So teaching standing mechanics, teaching running mechanics, teaching throwing mechanics, walking mechanics.
Amazing. And
Yes.
what exactly is biomechanics? Can you break it down for people who wouldn't know what that word means?
So like in regards to biomechanics, you can consider it a car mechanic fixes your car, and a biomechanic which would fix your body essentially, or at least show you how to do that. Because we can't go into the body, we're not surgeons, but from the reference of coherent or coordinated exercises, then ideally the person would be able to fix their issues, which would be the mechanic side, but bio is the biology side, right? So we're just basically fixing bodies.
Yeah. So what happens when someone comes in to see you? Like we already kind of know, but we want you to, but we're going to pretend like we don't know. So someone comes in and let's say they have, you know, some sort of physical posture issue, like you're kind of like, you know, like we call it what, text neck, where you're bending over. Yeah. Like what Alex, like this sort of bent, hunched over, sort of looking at the phone all the time, kind of like hunched over look. How would you approach that functionally?
So to your example, someone comes in hunched over. I'm going to look at it a little bit in terms of maybe a tension imbalance, right? So someone is hunched over here. Tissues are shortening down into their front line, right? With that sort of, I'll demonstrate, someone's hunched over. So tissues are shortening here. Meanwhile, on the back, things are actually lengthening, right? So the middle spine, the thoracic spine is getting longer. And then usually what's associated with that is that no one's going to walk around hunched over all day. They have to see. So then people hyperextend their necks and they're looking around like this.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will have that rounded, lengthened appearance to the middle spine, and then that shortened appearance to the back of the neck. So over the course of the training, we would work to create, we call it a T-spine extension, or a thoracic muscle activation of the middle spine, which is going to allow the neck to start to decompress and lengthen. So that's why a lot of people that work with us will see like reductions in headaches.
Yeah.
Because they'll actually start having appropriate upper body mechanics. Headaches or diminish.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's so
Yeah.
incredible. And tell us, how long does people usually work with you? Let's say you have a posture problem, like myself. What does that entail to work with you? I mean, I did one session and I had some like aha moments for sure. What kind of tell our audience, like what can they let's say, what can they, like how many sessions a week? Like do they get homework? Like tell us a little bit more. How does it work, one of your programs? Obviously depending on everyone is different and how severe they are, but you know, give us a little example how it can look like.
I mean, it really depends on the client. You know, I mean, I have clients that I've been working with for years and years and years. It's just their routine. It's what they do. They see me every week. Usually we recommend someone train with us a minimum of once a week for a cadence. Some people do twice a week, some people do 3 times a week. We find once a week is kind of the minimum to actually start to see results. And then it also depends how long that problem has been ingrained. You know, if someone's been sitting at a desk for 30 years, it's going to take a little time to correct that because we're moving bones, right? Someone is stuck in that hunched over posture. Their bones are now, you know, casted into that position. People come in and they're casts. So we have to uncast them, and it does take time. And it really is up to the client as well, how dedicated the client is, how disciplined the client is, how much time the client wants to devote to, you know, making better lifestyle behavior, sleeping more, eating better. You know, it's really contextual to the client and the situation.
Yeah, you guys are amazing too, because your intake form I was so impressed by, because it wasn't just like a physical questionnaire. You had so many questions about just basic lifestyle, like how do you eat? Do you meditate? Are you, you know, like resting? Are you taking care of yourself? Like I was like, oh wow, this is very holistic. Like you really include everything in I mean, we obviously people go in for a specific issue, but then I think maybe when they get there, they're going to solve a lot of things. You know, more than one thing is like as they sort of, you know, incorporate all the lifestyle stuff. So I think that's really cool about what you do too, because that's what Alex and I are so interested in. So I'm a functional practitioner, so I, you know, work with people on, you know, diet, rest, exercise, stress, supplements. So I try to get a more holistic look at who that person is with blood work and all of this stuff too. But like my expertise is somewhat limited in terms of like the physical body. So I'm so excited to have you guys to refer to when people come with all these different physical pains and issues and stuff too. So that's really neat. I think that you guys are doing an amazing job there. Tell us a little bit about how what you do is different than physical therapy too.
And so what you can imagine with physical therapy is most of their approaches are going to be isolated around the symptom, or they're going to try to address the symptom directly with some sort of lax range of motion reference, or something that is not going to involve how the limb would be used in real space and in a sense of like, or in your everyday life. So what I mean by that is ideally when you engage muscles in a more of a unison fashion instead of an isolated fashion, then your bones will have less of a chance of touching each other. Right? So a lot of the pain that most people will experience will be friction of ligaments or overuse of ligaments, which eventually will cause the bones to touch. So the idea that we approach is instead of approaching the symptom, we approach the whole system. And that's why the questionnaires have a bunch of lifestyle references, because the system reacts to its environment. And if we're to get somebody to get out of anxiety and so forth, the correctives are one thing. Their ability to recover to the correctives is displayed through their lifestyle, right? So essentially, as we're attacking more of a systematic point of view, we usually approach it much further away from the symptom in regards to where the body, you know, like where we would approach the muscles. And adjusting the hips and the spine, for example, would be a much better approach than adjusting a shoulder injury from the shoulder, if you will. If that makes relevant sense there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, Kino, you told us you've had a lot of injuries, and you were.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and how this technique has helped you.
Well, so just as a quick little snippet, I went to Bridgewater State University for exercise science, and I used to do by a man named Kelly Starrett, and he promoted all sorts of banded stretching and hypermobility type of situations. And my goals were always jumping, running, throwing. Now I was just always very insecure. I didn't even try throwing because it would just leave my shoulder in a wreck or some kind of, it was much quicker to give me an injury, if you will. So I would get hurt about every 2 months or so. I would make some gains and get hurt, have to rest for about 3 weeks or so, and then try it again, basically. And I would find myself sort of destroying the stack of my progress, right? Instead of beating my plateaus. And the approach was I was making a lot of my tissues very lax. When I was stretching them, they weren't actually using muscles to do it, right? And when we don't use muscles, it makes it higher of a chance that one muscle is going to work more than the other. If that happens, then it increases the chances of friction, that bone friction idea that we talked about,
Yeah.
which really, again, heightens the chances that you'll get pain, right? If muscles aren't balanced, like we said, they get pushed off into spectrums. Eventually, broad spectrums lead to some sort of pain.
So I found it really interesting when I had the assessment with Lydia. She asked me, what type of stretching do you do? So I showed her, because I run, a lot, and I showed her kind of the common stretch, which I think everyone thinks like you should be doing, which is touching your toes, bending over and touching your toes.
Yeah.
And this was a huge wake-up call for me, that I always thought that, I learned that when I was like 10 years old in Swedish gym class, that we're doing that, we're touching our toes. But you're telling me that's actually not a good stretch. So can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think the entire audience do that stretch on a regular basis.
Certainly.
Yeah, so we're talking about a typical, people call it like a hamstring stretch, right? They reach down and touch their toes.
Yeah.
The issue with that stretch is that you're not just stretching your hamstring, you're actually stretching your whole superficial back line. So this includes the plantar fascia of the foot, it includes the gastrocnemius, it includes the hamstring, it includes the tendons going through the hips, it includes the lumbar erectors and the muscles that support the spine going all the way up to the neck. So it's the superficial back line, bottom of the foot, all the way to the top of the head. And it's an interconnected chain of muscles that work together. So when you bend over and touch your toes, you're not just stretching your hamstring, you're actually stretching the tendons going over your hip. So people are stretching their hips to the point where their hips have no stability. Like if you think, if our body didn't have muscles, it would be just a puddle of bones on the floor. So what's keeping those bones suspended in space? And that's actually tension. So our muscles and our fascia are a tension system for our bones. Now, if you think of a bridge, you're not going to hold a bridge up in place with flimsy, flexible rubber bands, right? That bridge would just be flopping around, cars would be flying off, it would be unstable. So when you overstretch muscles that go over a joint or tendons going over a joint, you're actually creating instability in the joint because those muscles get so loosened out and hypermobile. Now that joint is moving around all over the place, and then you're creating issues like arthritis. So there's better ways if you have tight hamstrings to actually target that muscle directly. You don't need to be indiscriminately stretching a whole line of muscle, because some of that muscle needs some stretch, but some of that muscle doesn't need to stretch. So how do we target the areas of the muscle that actually need flexibility as opposed to the areas that don't? So that's why stretching can be dangerous. We teach a much better method it's more targeted essentially.
Tell us about it.
It's called myofascial release or self-massage. Everybody's seen it. It's lacrosse balls, Theracanes, foam rollers. So we have other tools that we use, and we teach people to actually get to that dysfunction. So, and there's a ton of benefits to that as well.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing I thought was, like, I've been using a foam roller and I've been rolling it up and down, like my legs and stuff like that. But you said that's not not necessarily the best way to do it either. You should find the spot and then you should kind of hold it, right?
Yeah, so we teach a lot of techniques. Basically the way that it works is if you're holding the pressure on a muscle, it kind of works the same way as if you were to squeeze a sponge and then you put the sponge underwater and you release the sponge. It's going to draw hydration into itself using negative pressure. So it's the same idea when you apply pressure to a muscle with a massage tool. You're actually hydrating that specific area, which if a muscle is restricted or there's adhesions there, hydration is super beneficial because that tissue is most likely not hydrated.
So what do you, so tell us a little bit about what you think about yoga then. I mean, I think I probably do 100 of those, like,
Yeah.
like every time you do a sun salute, you're like, you're going down and you're holding that position for sometimes minutes, you know? And so that's kind of curious. So what do you think about yoga in general?
That's a very polarizing topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, you know, just give us a little bit of like, maybe what you do versus what yoga does for your body. Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah, so we self-massage tools to stretch the muscles in a targeted way. So for example, it also actually helps build strength. So people are like, oh, how does doing massage, how is that going to help me build muscle? How is that going to help me build strength? So actually doing self-massage does help build muscle. And I'll use a really simple example. So if you see here, we have the bicep, right? The bicep goes from the shoulder, it connects into the elbow. So we're activating the bicep and we're lengthening the tricep. So what if we activate the tricep? Can you see how the bicep has to lengthen?
Yeah.
Right? As the bicep contracts, can you see the tricep is lengthening? Right? As the tricep contracts, can you see how the bicep is lengthening? So what happens if you walk in and you have super contracted, knotted biceps? And I see this actually in some older clients that I work with. Their biceps get so contracted that they lose the ability to actually fully extend their elbow. So you walk into a session, your biceps are so knotted and contracted that they have no flexibility. And then you have a weak lymph noodle tricep hanging out on the other end. But this person now wants to build tricep muscle. You know, they want to have a nice toned tricep. Great, that's a great goal. But what if your tricep is so weak and your bicep is so tight that your tricep isn't strong enough to stretch the bicep? So now you can't even get a full tricep activation because the bicep is not letting you.
Right.
Are you with
So
me?
you have to work on the bicep.
So you release the tension in the bicep. Now your tricep can achieve full contractile potential. It can do its job. So that's one way that we build muscle on our clients is we release the restrictions and adhesions so those weak lymph noodle muscles can start achieving contractile potential and start getting bigger.
So like, isn't it similar with like too strong of stomach muscles, like, you know, too weak of back muscles, kind of like,
yes,
you know?
That's a great example. People's upper abs from sitting, because when you sit, you tend to fall over, right? Gravity is always working on us. So people sit, they start getting these contracted, tight upper abdominals and really weak thoracic muscles. So yes, releasing the upper abdominals would allow for the thoracic spine to start engaging and activating and then creating that appearance of good posture.
It's all about balance, really, like getting the right balance. And so what about a person that like, they don't think that they have an issue, right? They think that they're actually perfect, right? Or they don't have an issue, like nothing is hurting, okay? Should they still come and see you?
So like, I'll give you an example. Let's say someone, I've had very few people come in. I assume Lydia would say the same, where they come in, they say they have no pain. And then you look at their structure and you'll notice that they're pretty asymmetrical. Now, with anybody that has an issue, things accumulate over time. So let's say that your frame is sliding off base. Those muscles that are already squeezing will continue to keep favoring its squeeze. This is basically another breakdown of what Lydia was talking about in regards to creating mutual tension, right? If some tissues are already designed to squeeze on your body, then it's going to pull the joints further and further out of misalignment until you eventually have a problem. Because the idea, which is a huge reference that I think would be important for the audience to eventually look into, is the study of mechanotransduction. And it's this idea where if the cell can keep a mutual tension, which is designated by our muscles and our tissues and how they contract, right? Then it will be essentially able to keep more water and be able to move more lymph and waste. And so if somebody is using more, let's say they're contracting the favoritism muscles the most, and then they just can't seem to relieve inflammation from these blockages, from these seemingly like a super highway that's filled with unpredictable traffic, right? And all of a sudden there's these blockades here where blood flow can't continue to circulate as smoothly as it could. So eventually you get inflammation in the joint, which is going to make it even more likely that friction is going to eventually happen, right? Because these tissues are getting further and further from neutrality. And that's the main thing that the audience must understand. It's not just old age, right? As the posture begins to fail, cells begin to die off considerably if they're not contracted. So this is why something, because what in reference to yoga, which I wanted to just add this quickly, is in regards to creating even tension. It's not as calculated, and it goes a little bit further than what most baselines can handle in regards to range of motion. So end up creating a lot more lax tissues than more mutually balanced tissues. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yoga is one of those things that is so popular and is promoted as so
It
great.
is, certainly.
Molly, you're the like big fan of doing it for years,
Well,
right?
I think so. The whole point of yoga, or the purpose of yoga, is actually to prepare your mind for meditation. So I don't even, I feel like in America, it's like it's a workout class, as opposed to being like to how to like get it's sort of like squeezing out energy from all of your tissues so then you can sit and meditate. But then we never meditate at the end of a yoga class. So I don't know what we're doing, but yeah, I mean, I like yoga just because for me it's like a mental thing. It keeps me quiet. And it's hard for me to be quiet, so or to be calm. So that it's more for that. I guess it's more for my mind. But I do think that like I could have better muscle. I need to do more of what you guys are doing too, for sure. And I think everything's a balance, right? It's kind of like I wouldn't do yoga 5 days a week. I think then you're going to be really stretched out and kind of have sort of funny muscles maybe, but I don't know. It's kind of it's an interesting question. But yeah, so very cool. So but I know that you guys do like in speaking about the way bodies look, like you have some incredible testimonials on your Instagram and on your website where you see like before and after pictures of people who are truly unbalanced when they come to you. So people with scoliosis, or even if it's just a hunched back or something, but like their first picture looks so crazy, and then this, after working with you for I don't know how long, maybe it's like 6 weeks or something, they look beautiful. I mean, they really look like they have a body that looks like this, where their sort of stomach looks really small and their shoulders are broad, and it just is, it's like completely transformative, and you can't believe that it's even like the same person. And I know we talked too about like your face changes, and when you change different muscles in your body, it can change the shape of your face. So talk a little bit about that and like how you change the way people are looking.
So basically, if I was to give sort of a fundamental breakdown, bones get shaped. Since bones are primarily blood, which a lot of people might not know, they can get shaped by the tension around them, right? So their shape actually changes quite a bit as you get older. When you get osteoporosis, right, it's a lot of something called an osteoclast, which eats bone. when it's not pressured piezoelectrically, which just means pressured, meaning like you got to use it ideally in an accurate fashion, would create the best bone material. So our idea is, you know, we had our case study, Lauren, which we changed her bones quite a bit to sort of reframe how our organs are adjusted, reframe how her intrinsic body is adjusted. And the idea is, especially when you have scoliosis, which is the broad range, is when pressure on bones doesn't seem to be rather even, bones will malmorph. Now, in order for us to change the shape of the face, all the pressure begins fundamentally from your hips and your torso. So if we can, right, ideally, if we can make pressure more even through the hips, through the diaphragm, through the lungs, then we can create what essentially breeded the asymmetries in the face, or we can stop what breeded the asymmetries in the face in the first place. And that's, you can imagine if somebody's coming in and they favor squeezing one glute, for example, over the other, that pressure is going to trail up into the face, and it's going to make something look a little bit more malmorphed than its counterpart. And that's all due to these sort of puppet-like tuggings, right, that we're experiencing with our body when we overuse a muscle.
Wow.
Basically, making it more mutual can help with that.
So you can make us all supermodels.
Right,
then.
that's what I was gonna say. I was like,
Ideally,
All
that's the
symmetrically
plan.
Perfect, right?
That's the plan. That
That's
really
the
is
plan, right? That's really the end goal, right? It's all about that.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the goal of the
know that it's
science.
like, I mean, everyone who's listening should really go to their website or go to their Instagram and see. I mean, it's not like a
Yes.
lie. Like it really, they have completely transformed these people's bodies and even what they look like in the face. I mean, it's crazy. Like you can tell they're the same person, but you're like, they look superhuman now. Like they're just like, it's
It's
crazy.
incredible.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So I mean, this is incredible stuff that I think most people don't know about. I mean, I've heard about that. Like, did you hear about that gum that you can chew that like can change your jawline or whatever? Like, have you ever heard of that? Like, I've only heard of little things before that.
So I have
People use little hacks. So something like chewing gum, that would be, okay, great. You'd think, oh, it's working your jaw. But because everything in our body is connected, just isolating the jaw isn't going to necessarily change someone's face. There's a lot more going into it than
Right.
just building jaw muscles. It's the pressures coming from the intrinsic core muscles. That's kind of where it starts, because, you know, you look at babies, they've got these deliciously little plump faces.
Yeah.
And then as people get older, you can almost start to see the effect that gravity takes on the bodies, right? People's bodies start to droop and everything starts to move towards the floor, right? So one of the things that we try to do is repressurize. Let's get that pressure going back up into the head instead of where it's typically going, which is down into the floor. So
I have 2 teenage boys, and for them, it's really important to have like a square jaw, and they call it mewing. I don't know. Have you heard that?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Certainly.
I don't know, Molly, if you are familiar with this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what they do, like something like that, or like they do some exercises, and there is like a device for it or something. I
think that's what
we do incorporate some mewing techniques into our training. We do recommend people keep the tongue to the roof of the mouth, because that actually anchors your deep front line. So it's affecting pressures down all the way down into your pelvic floor. For some clients, I'll recommend even mouth taping if they're like big mouth breathers. If our clients are like breathing and their mouths are hanging open, we'll encourage them to actually close their mouths and nose breathe. So it's all part of the system, right? The mechanical system of our whole body.
And,
Nope.
and
Go ahead.
as a disclosure to those that because in reality we interact by let's say grabbing something or walking over to something, and as we're doing that, we're sort of gripping or anchoring. Let's say with our hand we grab a cup of water, we're gripping in that fashion. And let's say that you do that same grip continuously with your jaw, but you're rather skinny. Now, this can heighten your chance that you'll get something like TMJ, because what you're doing is you're anchoring your face while the rest of your body is not participating in the muscle growth as much, right? So let's say that you're bulky and you actually have a good amount of muscle, and then you work your jaw, you'll have a more likely chance that you won't get something like TMJ, because you actually have some strong foundational anchors below that help you develop muscle. Essentially, remember, all the positions, all the major positions in the body, they're trying to stay interactive with each other. The moment we start contracting or one area over the other, or in negligence of the other muscles, let's say, then all of a sudden, not only will blood flow catch up, but the muscle actually won't get to its strength potential, despite it looking bigger. Doesn't always necessarily mean that it's going to function better. So in regards to the mandible, if you will, or the jaw building, if they are naturally bolstering muscle, they'll have a little bit more aesthetically pleasing results. But if someone doesn't have that kind of pressure and they're not lucky enough to have those genes, mewing could certainly cause even further compression in the jaw, where if they needed braces or something, they might need it more after trying to do that. We've seen very interesting things in regards to our case studies, and it always kind of rewires the way we tackle problems, right? So we can get wiser as we learn more. But
That's incredible. So you just gave the audience a few little things that they could be doing. The mouth taping, we don't want to breathe through our mouth, right?
ideally,
Ideally, even when exercising, correct? That's
ideally.
really important, right? We're breathing through
Yep.
our nose. And what other kind of tips can you give to the audience that are simple hacks? I love to say hacks, right? That they can do on a daily basis that will improve the way their gait and posture and the way they feel, let's say.
So something simple without getting very technical would be, let's say that you spend let's say your job is rather desk ridden,
Mhm.
and you spend about 45 minutes seated, then you should ideally spend then at least 5 to 10 minutes trying to walk, or trying to create some kind of contraction in your glutes again. Because the idea behind it is, when you sit, you're going to start to contract more of your front portion of your groin, your hip flexors and so forth, your quads. And so the glute has to turn off in order to create that contraction to a degree, right? Because sitting, despite squatting, sitting has no feedback, because we're basically almost sort of smushing ourselves under gravity and not allowing our glutes to feed back the seat, right? Because our hamstrings and our glutes would normally activate to a degree when we try to do something seated, or we try to do a squat, for example. That doesn't happen with seated positions. So you want to try to contract your body by sort of varying the positions that you place it in. It doesn't mean that the range of motion needs to be very significant. Something as simple as just walking after your 45 minutes, walking around the house and sort of kind of just like trying to feel a little bit of motion that would essentially stretch your hip flexor. That's the idea. Our motion should stretch the body parts that's getting really compressed. So walking should stretch your groin and your hip flexor when you kick your leg back, right? Because you activate your glutes and your hamstrings there. Other than that, a lot of the things that people can do is look for energy from areas like sunlight exposure. The better that you can control your sleep patterning, so there's a proper sleep window around 8:30, right, to around 10:30 is when you can still sort of harbor the best hormonal output or hormonal reward in regards to getting proper restorative sleep. Yeah, but besides that, myofascial release is something that you can find very readily available to you. And something like sitting 45 minutes, it very much so depends, but this is just sort of a ballpark. And 45 minutes of sitting, and then you can go ahead and do some pressure point releases in areas that you would know would rather be tight. So for example, I mentioned groin, I mentioned hip flexor, and so forth. that is useful in between, sort of like an interval setup, right?
Yeah.
That way your fibers don't take so much time in the same tension. Sorry.
So it's kind of
Good.
like we went to a conference last month or a couple months ago now, actually. And this woman was talking about exercise snacks. So like if you've been sitting for a long time, you take a snack break and you get up and I think for a minute you do squats for like a whole minute. Is that something that is that similar to what you're talking about?
It can be, from the reference that I have clients. Here's a homework example. Because a lot of people can't even add an extra hour to be able to fully recover from the workouts. It takes a decent amount of discipline. So let's say I offer them, for every 45 minutes or an hour that you're sitting, get up and do a 5-minute corrective, for example.
Yeah.
One of our timed muscle building exercises is what our correctives would be. And they're called a corrective because they ideally should correct an imbalance in the tissues, if it's to be something that's precisely muscle building.
Yeah. And when I came to you guys, I was talking about how I drive a lot, which is basically just sitting, except one leg is like being used most of the time, although I'm trying to learn how to use cruise control, but it scares me.
It is scary.
Yes.
Just scares me because I want to be like, I want to make sure I know what's happening. And if I feel like my foot's not right there, then I'm gonna, on 95, you just never know. Like a mattress could come flying at you or whatever.
Certainly.
I've actually had that happen. I've had a boat almost come flying at me on 95. So I'm always pressing with one foot on the pedal, and I feel I get like this tightness in my right leg. And so like a response to that would be like when I get out of the car after driving would be to somehow strengthen my back, or what, or like when I did an exercise with you, it was like kind of strengthening my glutes, kind of getting on the floor and doing kind of like a plank where I was strengthening my glutes. So is that something that would be a counteractive to driving, for example?
So, certainly. You're looking at the positions that you place your body in the most during your life. And essentially that accumulates, right? That's what we like to call compound interest, not a monetary point of view, but from the point of view of a biology breakdown. And so your job, right? If a muscle has a lengthened period of time where it stays in a similar contraction, then the accumulation of the lymph will get broader, right, as time passes, because they keep staying in that position. But when you apply a corrective, then you're sort of recycling that waste, and what you allow is yourself to never get backed up. It would be like the trash company taking weeks off, and then all of a sudden we have an epidemic where we have a bunch of trash.
Yeah.
That would be a similar reference of if them coming to pick up our trash is similar to doing a corrective or something along those lines.
Right.
Okay. So
And-
basically, so that pain in my leg that I feel is basically like it's full of lactic acid probably, or is that
More
kind
than likely built up areas for sure in regards to blood flow. Because
Yeah.
you can imagine like the stagnancy of a body of water that used to be a river. And you can imagine how that becomes more of an environment for some sort of disease. Like you would more likely drink something that's streaming than something freshwater or water that's pond-like, if you will. And it's very similar to the body in that way. We can replenish our cells by replenishing basically material through contractions. I mean, contractions are the governing force of how we transport everything in the body. It's why it's called it's why it's mechanical, if you will.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Everything's getting pushed, everything's getting pulled, pushed and pulled everywhere, right?
Mm.
Ideally. But,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
Great. It's great. So now you also offer biomechanic focus group classes. What do they look like, and kind of who can attend?
Our group classes, we just launched this service, so we're very excited about it. Our classes are for any skill level. So they're for anybody, and then we'll cater the techniques to the needs of that individual. One thing that's really cool about our classes that's different from a lot of classes is we have a very low ratio to instructor. So we'll have one instructor per 5 clients. So
Okay.
every client that comes to the class is gonna get some nice individualized attention as part of that class. And then, of course, there's the community benefits of being able to interact with other like-minded members. Our classes are, you can just do a drop-in class, or you can actually purchase a membership to the gym. So the gym membership includes cold plunge therapy, sauna therapy, and red light therapy. So they get the group classes, they get the community support, and then they get the regenerative therapies as well.
So
That's
they,
amazing.
you guys, they have their own biohacking lab there too.
We had
Which-
no idea. We didn't even see
Beside
that.
I know.
Yeah,
How did we
red
miss that?
light therapy is coming this week. Cold plunge is going in this week. Sauna is
Oh, so you
already
didn't
there.
have it when we were there.
We had the sauna, but the red light and cold plunge is, that's this week thing.
Is
That's
it red light panels you offer?
And it's like a suspension stand, and the panel is almost like a body length panel. So you can just, we have massage tables in there, so you can just lay on the massage table and then just put the red light on whatever body part.
Yeah, cool. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of red light and
Yeah.
cold. And
Yeah,
the
so
sauna.
anyone coming in for a class or coming in for a session can pop into the room and use the red light.
That's
Well,
awesome. It's super
I mean,
helpful.
that's huge.
That's huge. We were
Like,
never told about that. That's a game
Game
changer.
changer, game changer.
It works, right? We're just in
Yeah,
the
like-
works.
Well, I mean, red light is so popular now and it's expensive. So when you go, places, you have to pay quite a bit of money to get in. So if you're getting also a gym membership to do red light, to do all of these things, like that's pretty amazing.
I love it.
Mind if I ask what your gym membership costs? What is, and what the group classes cost, that kind of thing, so people get a sense?
$150 a month. It includes one class a week and then access to the regenerative therapies.
Wait, say that again. I think you got cut off in the beginning. 150?
No worries. So the membership is $150 a month.
Okay.
It includes the regenerative therapies, and then it includes the group classes as well. One
Okay.
group class,
Class a
one
week.
group class a week. Yes.
Okay. What
That's
about if you wanted
cool.
more than one class a week? We only run one class a week.
Yeah, because we just launched the service, we just have
Okay.
one class available. But
Okay.
over the next couple months, we're going to be transitioning. We'll have a class every day.
This is great. And
Yeah.
so
That's
this
so
is awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate
And
you.
on that subject, I mean, what is your guys' favorite biohack? Okay. And what does a typical day look for Kino and Lydia separately? So
in terms
favorite
of your wellness, sort of like what you eat, how you wake up, what you do, what your kind of morning routine type thing looks like.
we're getting off script here now. I hope I can kind of,
Just how did you
Stir
wake
it
up
up too
today?
much.
And like, what did
Whoa.
what did you eat and how did you wake up today and that kind of thing?
Well, the I guess you can consider that I follow more of a mineral based outlook. And I'm not necessarily counting calories. I'm really just trying to make sure that minerals are basically the dominant force, because they're controlling so much of our body. So with me, a lot of mineral dense foods obviously include fruit, vegetables. I try my best to keep grains to not a large number, just for loading purposes and so forth. And I try my best to not really mix foods that much. And obviously, in general, animal products are a great source of protein and so forth. And really, my biggest focus is to ensure that my minerals are intact. It's something that the way that I eat is trying to acknowledge more of this process of biosynthesis, where I don't have to rely as much on dosages of minerals, and I sort of balance things out for what's needed. If I'm really tired, I'll try to dose a little bit more minerals from the food choices, or I'll try my best to go without it a little bit more to kind of test the resiliency in my body. But I guess you can certainly call it a hack in today's society, but I'm in the sun for like 3 to 4 hours a day. And I do online sessions primarily after moving from Boston. A lot of our clients stuck it out. And so we were lucky enough to continue online. And I like to do my work in the grass, planted in my feet. And so what would normally really stress me out, I'm in there just planted. I got my little sun shade thing, so I don't notice the glare as much, or if at all. It really is a game changer in when you have to deal with society's demands, which is something like being on a laptop. Sleeping 8:30 pretty much every night. I mean, sleep is the best part of our day, practically. And
That's fine.
we normally like to do our correctives in the morning when our hormonal cycle has the most energy, right? Is inclined that it wants to really move at that time. And one big thing that I definitely recommend is don't be in the digestion process during a workout, because you're not allowing, you guys may already know, you're not allowing blood flow to get to the muscles. Instead, they're working through a lot more of your digestive organs and so forth. And 30-minute window is a huge window after your workout to really just mechanically take from food minerals and so forth. The body does it in a more rigorous fashion when it's closer to the workout. And that's mainly what I do. Overall, the correctives are actually the biggest thing that provides me the sort of this ability to kind of like stay still and relax. Right? It was very hard for me to do that normally. And the correctives sort of regulate my nervous system quite a bit.
That's great. When do you get up in the morning?
So it's never fixed. Depends on how early I start. Sometimes I'll start 6:15, sometimes I'll start 6:30, but I usually get up around maybe 5:45. On some days, if I'm lucky, I get 6:10, but I usually wake up around 5:50, 5:45, and I can't fall back to sleep. My alarm normally doesn't hit before I'm awake.
So you sleep a lot of hours. That's
yes.
Yeah, you need a lot of hours.
30.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
try to.
Good. That's great.
We try to get about 30 minutes to an hour of no tech and just allowing our melatonin to build up so we can enter deep sleep and really recover from the workout that we had in the beginning of our day.
I hope you never have children then, right?
That's going to be tough.
Go out the window.
Unfortunately, well, you still have to get up.
Families. We do work with families, so we encourage, parents and stuff to get their children on healthier routines, but obviously that kids are a wild card, so it does make it a little tougher.
I know. It's
Either
funny.
you're up too early or up too late, or there's always something happening with them.
There's always something. It's like, yeah, but also what's like funny, like before you have kids, I don't know if you guys want to have children, it's your private thing. I'm not going to dive into that, but it's like before you have children, you have all these ideas and like, this is how it's going to be, my child is going to be, sleeping at 8 p.m. and wake up at 9 a.m., and everything like goes like out the window. My kid is never going to use an iPhone, like never, you have all these ideas and then it's like you got the kid and it's like you kind of fighting for dear life to do your best, right? Molly? I mean, do you agree?
Oh yeah.
It can feel like that. I've seen a lot of families have trouble dealing with society's new standards on how to live.
The phone. I mean, the phone is
the biggest huge kill off.
Huge problem.
There's
huge problem. Yeah.
There's a book out called The Anxious Generation that everybody should read, I think, if you're a parent or otherwise, but it's by Jonathan Haidt. I'm just looking at it on my bookshelf, but I recently bought it and I was reading it and I was like, oh my God, like basically you should never give a device to a child. Like they will be immediately depressed,
anxious. Yeah.
And
they can't regulate happiness anymore without a stimulant.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening overall to their nervous system. They get used to needing something outside of themselves to entertain themselves.
Yeah. And that's where the ADHD comes in too, because like, I think my daughter's class, something like 60% of the kids are on ADHD medication. And you're kind of just like, at what point is this like,
Right.
are we gonna be like, maybe
Right.
there's something else wrong? Like, I don't, you
Right.
know,
Huge, it's a huge problem.
the problem.
Oh,
I mean,
huge
they're like
problem.
9-year-olds on ADHD medication. It's not like, I'm
Mm.
like,
Yeah, I
I
did
know.
not know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's like when you're in that world and like everyone's like, oh well, I want my kid to be a, you know, coder or do something, and you know, so they're like starting them at age 2 at like, you know, so, and then your kid knows more than you about all these things, but it's a little scary.
It
Definitely
is.
scary.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, as a parent, you're like always, I think, you're always struggling against that. And then the peer pressure and everyone, is using the devices. That's how they communicate. And it's like, oh no, you can't have, I mean, it's all of that. It's the biggest problem, I think, in parenting today. And it's the biggest struggle, I would say. Right?
And-
Molly, your daughter is
and
still
bio-
young.
in biomechanics, because everybody's
Right? Yeah.
like everybody, like it turns your
I'm
whole
s-
body into a shrunken,
Yeah.
shriveled thing, you know. So
Yeah.
And we do work with kids as well. We have, we do one-on-one sessions with kids. So, and kids actually make posture progress so much faster than adults, because it's just like human growth hormone is just literally like pumping into their body daily. So,
You say that. Right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
great.
Their frames are very naturally well put or better put together than ours as we age
Right.
as well.
So
Right.
yeah, they respond really well.
yeah, it would be so
Okay.
good to start kids on your program, I think, too, at an early age, to really get their bodies like working properly, and then
Yeah.
they grow into, you know, so then you're not like trying to fix all these adults.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
Start
Yeah.
them when they're young and get
That's
them.
the idea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of children are developing the same postural issues that we see in like adults. I mean, I've seen kids walking around, their posture literally looks like the posture of like a 50-year-old.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just know that that child is sitting and spending so much of their time on a screen. So it's honestly very frightening.
Yeah. Lydia, what about you? How does your day go usually? Give us a little snippet into the life of you.
Into my day. So we've been really busy because we just launched this gym, and then I have my personal training clients. But just, making sure that I'm really well connected to nature. We didn't talk much about this, but like light hygiene is a really big deal for me. So making sure I'm getting morning sun, making sure I'm getting evening sun. We live near the beach. So, if I don't have a session till 8 a.m., I try to get, scoot down to the beach for sunrise. I do that a couple of times a week. That's a pretty big deal. Just making sure I'm not eating too late and not filling my belly up with food right before I go to bed. Making sure that I'm blocking blue light after the sun goes down. And then of course, the training correctives that we use, I try on my own body. We didn't talk a lot about my background, but I had a really dysfunctional hypermobile body. I had a serious back injury. I had back surgery. My body, I had multiple surgeries. So my body was really a mess. So just managing my health, managing my hormones, making sure I'm getting enough sleep, just making sure that even though I'm running a gym and running clients, that I'm still nurturing myself and tending to my body's needs. And, if I feel like I need to rest, I'm not going to push myself to do something that my body's not ready for. So
Yeah.
That's incredible. And
takes so
also,
much. It takes
Yeah.
so much like stamina too. Like even with like Alex and I, like we're in this world, and I'm seeing clients and patients and all stuff, and I will often forget about myself. Like, oh, I didn't even
Yeah.
go outside today, and oh, by the way, it's like 8 o'clock at night, and I don't have time for a workout, or so it's kind of like you get kind of stuck in these things with work balance and trying to fit all of these things in all the time. So you really have to work at it. You have to really schedule it in your calendar. Like, I will see the sunrise tomorrow morning. It's exciting.
Yes.
right. And I think another, sorry, go ahead.
The duality of sort of tackling this life as scientifically as you can in regards to fixing your body or maintaining good health. One of the bigger things that we tell our clients is to sort of do what you can. And because when you tend to go overboard, despite us getting it done, we tend to stray off into stimulants more and more, the more that we work past our capacity.
Yeah.
And when we create that adrenaline fatigue, we need to create some way of replenishing that. And that's when we tend to use stimulants. So one of the big things that we find is when we exert to our capacity, our bodies just, they just get more muscle. We feel more vibrant, essentially, we feel like we're getting better rest and so forth.
Yeah, that's
I
incredible.
guess meeting the body where it's at is probably the most difficult thing in society, or one of the most difficult things in society right now to gauge.
And
I think as like healthcare providers too, like it's really important to be models for our clients.
Totally.
You know, if we're dispensing advice, we need to be walking the talk. And just for me, it's like an integrity thing. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh.
I'm giving all this advice to you, but I'm not living it myself, then I'm just a hypocrite. You know, I need to be the example. And I think that's really a calling for me, is just being able to model that.
well, it's
You
so
know,
certainly not modeled in our medical world. I mean, like when you
No.
look at your doctors, I mean, we were actually just talking about this earlier today.
Yeah, we're talking about it like 2 hours ago, Molly and I.
Yeah. Like someone trying to sell us something who doesn't even look like a healthy person. And you're just like, what, like, and they're like,
Yeah.
this is the best thing you should have, and you should sell this product.
Yeah.
And then, like, what?
Yeah, they're talking about this like amazing supplement, but you look at them and it's like you're overweight, like you're really unvibrant. And it's like, how can I possibly buy from you? I just griped to Molly about this, like 2 hours ago. Because
Yeah.
it's like, but I look at the two of you, Kino and Lydia, and you guys, you definitely, you walk the talk. So it shows.
Appreciate you.
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
We certainly appreciate
Yeah.
it. We're trying.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And
It's hard. It's hard. It's harder to
It's
do.
not easy, no.
It's harder to do what you're doing than what everybody else is doing, which is not, which is
Not
like
doing that.
challenging themselves. You really have to challenge your brain, because your brain just wants to be safe all the time. That's how we're actually designed. We're designed to just be like, okay, try to avoid all fear. like
We're looking for that security.
yeah.
Yep.
So you gotta, and our lives aren't built for this. Like we're never outside. Like we're not, I mean, unless you really force yourself to go outside. I mean, Florida, it's easier, but I mean, imagine Massachusetts. Like how often can you be outside and the sun isn't even out most of the time?
You gotta love the cold. You gotta just embrace the cold.
That's it. Swim off.
go walking.
That's why we ended up in Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
We said that in Mass, and then now look where we're at.
Yeah,
Embrace
exactly.
that cold.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm from Sweden, and in Sweden you have no choice but just like you just
True.
gotta. My parents used to always throw me out, because if you're waiting for good weather, I mean, you're waiting for like a whole year.
9
I mean, never. It's like never. It's like 2 weeks a year. You got sunshine. That's it.
So challenging.
But I think they sort of invented the whole like sauna cold experience. Like,
Oh yeah. We had a sauna in my house. I mean, we had a sauna in my house. We went outside, made snow angels, and went in the sauna and alternated contrast therapy, right?
Yeah.
So it's awesome. I have a question for you guys. So and I don't know if we're gonna round it out with this, but how do you see, or where do you see the two of you and your biomechanics in, let's say, another 5 years? Where is Lydia and Kino going with this?
We can imagine that in somewhere around 5 years' time, or it's hard to gauge accurately, but I'm sure that we'll be much more involved in the community. And there's going to be all sorts of projects where we're attempting to give back, because the city of Vero took care of us while we were taking care of them. And then all of a sudden now we got little projects in the works to make this stuff more available to people that can't afford the prices that we may put out, and so forth. And we probably won't stop at one gym. Imaginably, once we figure it out, we're going to want to spread this influence, just from the standpoint of the more functional people get, the more likely that we're going to have sort of less disadvantages being created by our counterparts. Like you can imagine, like the more stronger a person is, the less anxious they are and so forth. And the more security they have in themselves, the less likely that they'll be, let's say, blow up at work or beep at somebody in traffic and cause a traffic jam. So we basically create this idea where we're not backtracking the system much with all of our misbehaviors towards each other and so forth. We have a lot more patience as we're healthier, if you will.
We talked about functional bodies, right? Creating a body that is holistic and the body is supporting itself and all the systems are working together for harmony within that body. But we also, coexist within other people as well. And that is also a network and a community within a city or within a state. So creating a functional system of members of your town or functional system of members of your neighborhood, members of your state, and just making it easier. When the system works together, it's easier to function, right? So how does a community of people work together? And now everybody is functioning easier because of the support of that network.
It's a dream.
Yeah, creating functional communities for sure.
It's a beautiful dream. I love that. That's so great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So can you tell everyone where to find you, where your location is, your website, your Instagram, any other ways that they can get in contact?
But it's just www.verobeachbiomechanics.com. You can find us on Google. If you know Vero Beach at all, we are right downtown across the street from the courthouse. Pretty centralized.
If it's worth mentioning, our address, we can.
So it's 1503 20th Street in Vero Beach.
Yep. Do you have any socials?
What's our Insta?
Instagram is let me just make sure I check this so I don't give you misinformation.
I follow you guys, so let's see.
Appreciate you very
Yeah,
much.
so it's Vero Beach
Vero-
underscore
_biomechanics.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
And yes.
cool.
And
Love
that's probably it there.
Yeah, you guys
So you
have
can
to
just go on our website and just send us an inquiry.
That's the best way to reach us. And
Yeah.
we are certainly doing our best with our current increase in clientele load. And we're so keen on being critical for everyone that essentially there's only so much time in the day, but we plan on helping as many people as possible. So please feel free. And as long as you have patience with our returns, we will certainly get to you.
Yeah.
100%.
And if they just join the gym and come in and see you guys for, the group classes too, to get started, that's
Exactly.
just a great place.
Certainly.
Yeah. And then
That's the easiest way.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like I want to join the gym because I want to use all the stuff there too.
Yeah.
Okay. And so many people are looking at, red light, especially thanks to Alex, is everywhere in our town, but I she sells the red light beds too. But it's hard to get to, like, it's hard, there's, and if you have a place where there's multiple things, then that makes it more desirable and more worth the fee to go. So anyway, so I think that that's really cool and really great. So people are going to be knocking down your door now.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, ideally, right? We're looking for that. We want to help as many people as we can. So.
You might have to bring in more practitioners or something. I don't know. At some point you're gonna,
Well,
oh wait, she's talking. Hold on. I for some reason we can't hear you now. For some reason. Oh, I think
Can you hear us?
there you are. There you are. Sorry. Go ahead.
Weird.
We have a team of 3 other practitioners.
Oh, you do already. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's great.
That's great. Thank you guys so much. This was amazing. You guys love what you do. You love to help other people and you're serious about it. So
Yes,
everyone
Grandma.
check you out.
Yeah.
Little gem. Yes.
Thanks.
We
So,
really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Really
much for
thoughtful.
being here. Yep.
Thank
Love you
you.
guys.
Of course.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.